Hello and welcome back. So now I am really excited to present you on stage. Our next presenter, Sarah, who is from PwC. And Sarah is going to share with us a career journey with PwC after studying physics at university. So just as a little reminder, if you have any questions for Sarah, please pop them into the Q&A section on the right-hand side of your screen, and I will pop up and can ask Sarah those questions. So without further ado, I will hand you over. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Nisha. Hi. Hi, everyone. As Nisha says, my name is Sarah, and I'm a senior associate who works at PwC. So I joined the firm back in September 2019. So I've been at PwC for just over 2 years now. So the line of service that I work in is tax, and specifically corporate tax, which means my portfolio of work largely consists of working with large corporate clients. So I'm here to talk to you today about my journey from university all the way to working with PwC, and how my STEM background has influenced kind of my decision-making in terms of education, then applying to PwC, and how I use my STEM-based skills from day to day. And so you have to bear with me, a little bit croaky voice today, so excuse me if I have to reach for the water. But yeah, getting started. So a good place to start at the beginning. So I always enjoyed studying maths, science, and generally working with numbers at school. So at A-level, I chose maths, physics, and then a bit more of a random one, French. And then following this, I studied physics at the University of York. So for me, in terms of choosing physics, my decision was mostly based on finding it the most interesting subject I studied at A-level. I was in the position of not really knowing what I wanted to do as a career after university, and just felt that physics would sit well with kind of enjoying problem solving and working with numbers. As with other STEM subjects, I also felt that the particular STEM skill set could be applied hopefully to many in jobs and careers down the line, and would help me keep my options open, kind of giving me a bit more time throughout university to decide what I might like to do as a career afterwards. So I started at the University of York in September 2015. And like many people, wasn't really sure what to expect. On the whole, I really enjoyed my degree. I'm sure, like everyone else, I had modules that I enjoyed more than others. But overall, I found it really enjoyable. I thought it was interesting, thought-provoking, really varied, and also a really challenging subject. So definitely was happy with my choice for university. But for me, what I particularly enjoyed during my physics degree was the process of understanding physical rules and laws, and then leveraging this understanding using kind of maths as a tool to problem solve. So it was this problem solving process of kind of working through something logically to arrive at an answer that I really enjoyed. And I mention this because this is something that certainly applies to my day-to-day job working in tax now, and training as a chartered accountant. And I leverage these skills kind of to this day. So at the end of my degree, I was clear I still wanted to work with numbers. But I felt that kind of working in a lab in a research capacity wasn't something that I really wanted to do. But I did know that I wanted to leverage the STEM skills that I'd kind of been developing and learning over the past few years. For example, kind of being analytical, working with numbers, problem solving, but also kind of working collaboratively, and building relationships is something that I definitely wanted to feature in my career. So like you guys today, I did the recruitment and career fairs, which fortunately or unfortunately were in person at the time for me. And also use graduate job sites like RateMyPlacement just to figure out what opportunities there were, and kind of what options were available to me. So I had heard of PwC before. I was aware that they're a highly regarded firm and really well known for providing professional services. And I also knew that they hired lots of graduates, and that there were a huge range of opportunities and different roles in different lines of service. So I kind of started looking into the roles that PwC had to offer. So not really knowing much about PwC, my angle of attack was kind of just to read through all the different lines of service that PwC have. So when I say lines of service, different kind of types of service PwC offer. For example, I work in tax, but there's also an audit line of service, consulting, deals, legal, all sorts. So basically I had a read through of that to understand kind of where PwC were hiring graduates, what the different roles were and what they would involve, as well as kind of getting a feel for what are PwC's values, what do people say it's like to work at PwC, just so I could make an informed choice. It's kind of key things for me where I learned that PwC's purpose is to build trust in society and solve important problems. And they do that through the broad range of services that we offer clients. I also discovered all the different lines of services and kind of worked through the career sites to figure out what opportunities were available across the huge range of locations that PwC have offices. So for me, personally, I hadn't thought about working in tax before, never mind professional services. But reading about the role, I learned that tax is all about understanding complex rules and legislation, having an eye for detail, being able to work in a systematic way, and crucially, helping clients with commercial and ethical solutions to their problems. So for me, this drew out loads of parallels with the problem solving that I talked about before, and I felt that the role sounded a really good fit for me and my STEM-based background. Another key theme that comes out for professional services is that you work with a range of clients, and you need to be able to gain an understanding of their business and discuss how the tax rules apply to them. And for me, again, the thought of having to navigate and understand these rules, apply them to a new scenario, and then explain them in an accessible way to clients who don't have a tax background would be really kind of leveraging the STEM skills that I'd amassed during my degree. I was also keen to work in a client relationship role where I would use and develop my interpersonal skills to build kind of effective working relationships and become a trusted advisor to clients. PwC in particular attracted me just mainly due to their brilliant reputation as a leading professional services firm. I was excited at the prospect of working with big clients and the work that I would get exposure to. And also for me, one of the key points was that the role I was applying for included a professional qualification, which I understand lots of the roles that PwC are recruiting for do. For me, that's working in tax. That's to become a chartered accountant and doing the ACA qualification with the ICAW, which has been a brilliant opportunity. So tax, I thought that's the one for me. So I applied to the role and worked my way through the application process. So I understand from our recruiters that the application process has changed a little bit now to when I did it 2 or 3 years ago. So I won't go into detail of what I exactly did, but I thought it would be helpful to touch on kind of what I wish I knew when I was applying. So I think point number 1 for me, quite an obvious one, it's be prepared. And I know that everyone says it, but I really think there is no substitute for preparation. I think you need to be clear on why you're interested in working at PwC and why a specific role. No one is expecting you to be a tax expert or an audit expert on day one, but I think knowing and being able to justify why you've chosen a particular role is not only good preparation, but it also really helps you understand if you're making the right decision for you and you're not just kind of clicking on it because of the name or because of the location of the company, etc. And I think particularly if, like me, you're interested in applying for a role with a professional qualification, it's really important to understand what that professional qualification involves, what the qualification will mean at the end, what is it that you're getting, what will the time commitment be, what are the exams, just so you can make an informed decision for yourself. So my second piece of advice would be to take confidence in your preparation. I recall being so nervous in my assessment centre and feeling as though a bit imposter syndrome like that maybe there'll be some huge gaps in my knowledge that would be exposed, or the fact that I had no accounting background would be an issue and that everyone else on the assessment centre would somehow. And this just was not the case. PwC focus on people's potential rather than experience when recruiting grads. So it's all about your skills in terms of problem solving, working with others. It was categorically not a test in accounting knowledge. So I would say if you've done your prep, you are just as equipped as anyone else in the room, and that you should absolutely take confidence in that. And so do the work and then calm thoughts. If you've done the work, you should be fine. But so fortunately, I was successful in my application and was able to start at PwC in the Manchester office in the following September. It's kind of having run through my route from university to starting at PwC, I thought it would make sense now to kind of touch on key points, including what training and support I've received, particularly how I found the role moving from a STEM background, having no accounting or professional services experience, as well as how I found juggling work and studying for the professional qualification. I'll then touch on what my day-to-day role looks like, as well as generally how I found PwC as a place to work. So starting with the training and support, I can't emphasize enough how little accounting experience I had. It was absolutely zero on my first day, and that was very much the expectation, and it was absolutely fine. In terms of on-the-job coaching that I've received, I've found my colleagues to be absolutely fantastic. They've been so willing to provide good learning opportunities and get you involved with projects, and I found it a really supportive culture. For example, the way it works at PwC is you start at a certain grade and you work your way up. And I've always found that I've been given work that's appropriate for my grade, but also that I can be given kind of stretch and challenging pieces of work, which moves me a bit out of my comfort zone and really ensures that you're developing. And this has kept it really interesting. Every day feels different, and I do new stuff all the time. Like even this week, I'm working on something I've not worked on before. And for me, that keeps it really fresh, really varied, and that's something I really value. Also, everyone, when they join at PwC, is assigned a career coach, and I catch up with my career coach probably about once a quarter, just to chat about how I'm getting on, where I'm doing well, if there are any areas I want support with, maybe any areas of tax that I'd like to have a go at working in that I haven't previously. For example, this year I put in my goals to do a bit more work on tax structuring, which is a specific area of deals, and I can flag that to my team, and they'll work with me to kind of hopefully get me involved in those kind of opportunities and help me tick off my goals. So yeah, like I say, a really supportive and collaborative environment. In terms of the professional qualification, this has been a really big part of my time at PwC. So we receive blocks of time out of work, which is still paid, which is nice. And you go and study for the qualification at college. For me, this has been a mix of in-person and virtual learning. So my experience has been to study in a class with just other PwC grads, which is amazing because it gives you great access to tuition, and you kind of know everyone, which is nice. And it's also a great way to meet all the other grads in your intake, because I don't work with the graduates directly in audit, but it's a great way to build your network, learn about what other people are doing in other areas of the business. I can also say I found the quality of tuition to be really good. Having absolutely no background in accounting, I just found the tutors to be fantastic, and going into your exams feeling as confident as you can. Yeah, I think it's been really good. You can reach out to tutor support kind of any day of the week and people will get back to you. So really can't emphasize how good that support has been. But I will flag the professional qualification has involved a really big time commitment. So if you're interested in applying for one, then I would definitely research it, make it sure it's something you want to do and you're committed to. I think if you can look on the careers site and read through the different roles are available, it will flag which ones have qualifications and which don't. So yeah, I would definitely say research that and make sure it's something you're interested in. But I think it's absolutely brilliant. I'm waiting for my final exam results to come back next month. And touch wood, all being well, that will mean I'm an exam qualified chartered accountant, and that will have been in just over 2 years. And I've been able to do this at no cost to myself whilst working at PwC and gaining practical experience. So that's been great. And also add that because in my team, everybody has also trained as a chartered accountant, there's a really good understanding of the process and kind of support from your colleagues as they've gone through the exact same process and knows exactly what it's like. And I really valued that support. So what does my day-to-day role look like? Well, one thing that I do love about my role is just the range of work that I get involved with. So as I mentioned before, I work in corporate tax. I also work in the stamp duty team, and I'm also part of the renewables network. And that just gives me a really broad range of projects and opportunities to be involved with. So my role in corporate tax is all about being part of the client relationship team. So this involves building relationships with the client, helping them with their tax compliance, helping them navigate the tax law and make sure they're paying the right amount of tax, as well as supporting them with kind of ad hoc queries as they arrive and being available as a trusted advisor. In my role within renewable energy, I get to be involved in deals work in the renewables and low carbon industry. I find this exciting because it's quite a different pace to the compliance work, which is much more of an annual process sometimes. So I kind of enjoy the difference between these two roles and that I get to be part of both. So example of work that I might be involved in on a deal, it could be looking at tax efficient structures for acquiring companies or performing due diligence on target companies, which involves looking to see if there are any tax issues or tax risks which may impact the deal. So yeah, exciting work. In terms of specific projects that I've been lucky to be involved with, I would say a particular highlight for me was being part of a team that was working across several lines of service at the firm, as well as PwC teams overseas. And I really enjoyed getting that project management experience of liaising with so many people, kind of working globally. I found that a really exciting and good, challenging opportunity. So finally, how have I found PwC as a place to work? Well, it's a bit of a cheesy one, but everybody says it, and it's the people that make PwC. And I have to agree, really. I think the great thing about working at such a big firm is the fact that you get to work and collaborate with just so many people. For example, in tax, there are subject matter experts in all different areas, maybe plastic packaging tax, corporate tax, VAT. And these people are experts and they're so good at what they do. But not only that, they're so happy to collaborate with you and your team to help you find out solutions for your client. And I find this makes a great working environment. I'm still surprised now just at how many different people I get to work with at different times, whilst also being part of kind of a local team that I do feel part of. It's kind of the best of both worlds, and it's something I really appreciate. Socially, there's lots to get involved with. There are loads of different networks and social events going on. From a more personal side, when I moved to Manchester just over 2 years ago, I'd never lived in Manchester before, didn't know anyone, and basically found it great joining such a big firm as there were so many other graduates and other people in prior year intakes. And I've been able to make a number of friends through my immediate team and the network of other graduates. So from a more personal side, that's been a definite plus for me that I wasn't necessarily expecting. There are also kind of more informal sports teams. I think we've got hockey and football. I think there's a netball team getting started in my office soon, as well as charitable events, if that's the kind of thing you'd like to get involved with. There are also the more organised networks, such as the Christian, Hindu, Jewish, Sikh, Muslim networks. We've got Shine, disability awareness, and gender networks. And I find that these really help connect people from across the business, and there's always events going on that you can get involved with. So I think probably that is everything that I wanted to really run through. I guess to wrap up, I would say that my headline messages are, I've found PwC to be a great fit for me. I get to work with technically brilliant people, get to leverage my STEM skills and work on a great range of opportunities and really enjoy the kind of the collaborative and inclusive environment. But yeah, I hope that has been a helpful run through of my journey from a STEM background to PwC and yeah, my experience so far, but I'm happy to take any questions at all on the job, on PwC, qualifications, and anything at all. But other than that, thank you very much for your time.
Oh, no, well, thank you so much. Well, you've definitely sold like corporate tax and PwC to me. So yeah, but no, thank you so much. It was really, really insightful to hear about all your journey, you know, going from uni to PwC. And yeah, loads of questions been coming in. So we've got a bit of time, so I'll try and get through. But I just want to start off with kind of the start of your journey. So then you mentioned about doing research, and thank you for mentioning the RateMyPlacement there. That helped you. But yeah, what other things did you do why did you go into that area of corporate tax? Was there anything that helped you decide?
I think for me, I'll be honest, it was still a bit of a guess. I can't say I knew exactly what the job was going to look like. It was more things that ruled it in. I knew that I wanted to work with numbers and that would be a key point in tax. For me, I thought I'd quite like to work in an office as opposed to on client site, so that kind of tipped the balance for audit for me. But I also thought, that having kind of understood rules and things from like physical laws and then applying them to numbers, that reading tax legislation and law and combining that with numbers could be like a really good overlap. So for me, kind of in the Venn diagram of those things, tax felt very much in the middle. And yeah, I'm really happy with the choice.
Oh, that's brilliant. I mean, someone just asked, what are your career aspirations with this? Do you have been going forward?
I mean, I hope the sky's the limit, you know, who knows? But what's really good is there's such a good performance and evaluation process at the firm. So I set goals for a year, and then I kind of review myself against those. I get feedback from other people, and we kind of get feedback quarterly, which is great. So I'm a senior associate at the moment, having been promoted in July. I certainly would like to work towards manager in the next couple of years and progress after that. But I do see myself progressing, hopefully within the firm. And yeah, just kind of getting experience as I go, building my network, and then hopefully all will go well.
Get the sky's the limit. So and I'm sure you'll be brilliant and go very far. It's another question that's come in is about the application process, and I know you mentioned that it's probably quite different to when you first applied, but the question is how best is a way to show your potential for an interview and assessment?
Good question. So I would say my view would be, you don't want to be the loudest person in the room, and you don't want to be the quietest person in the room. I think you want to be the person that you would most like to work with. I think if you're trying to kind of overly get in the spotlight and kind of, regurgitating information from the website, I would say that wouldn't be the approach that I take. I think be prepared, because you can take confidence in that. And I think depending on the excuse me, sorry, I'm dying here. The content of the assessment centre, you can kind of weave that in. But really, I think it's more about your skills than actual experience. So how you're working with other people, how you're collaborating, how you approach a problem, and just make sure that you really are being collaborative. If there's someone a bit quieter, maybe you bring them in, as you would in a real meeting, because you want to get everyone's opinions. You want to make sure that everyone's contributing, because that quieter person might have a great idea. And I think, don't think, oh gosh, they had the idea we went with. I would take the approach of, as a team, we've come up with the best solution here. And I think that's the kind of approach that I would take.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Yes, be inclusive in that matter, and it actually shows your strengths of being able to do that too. So, absolutely great answer there. Another question. So you did mention about studying for your qualification alongside working. How have you coped with that? And do you have any tips?
I would say it's definitely been challenging. I wouldn't want to say anything otherwise. It's great that you get time out from work. I can put my out of office on. People know to not disturb me. It's like I'm on holiday. I may as well be in a beach in Barbados. And that's great, because then you can really focus and kind of put your college hat on rather than your work hat. And I know I looked at other grad schemes that also offered the qualification. I think there were one or two I looked at the time where you would go after work or on a weekend. So I found it great that I could go Monday to Friday to college. So that's been great. But I've absolutely committed many an evening, many a weekend for exams. That has definitely been a big time commitment for me. And I think for most people, the exams are staggered. So I kind of have 3 months, a block where of 3 months and then 3 months off, that type of rotation where within the 3 months you have some weeks at work, some weeks at college, but you have chunks of time where exams are not on your radar, which is nice. I definitely research the qualification you're interested in doing. So, for example, like the ACA is 15 exams. How is it structured? That kind of thing. I think it's good to know. And also whether you want the qualification. For me, I thought it would be hopefully like a really valuable asset in the future to be a chartered accountant. So a good time commitment, but I think really rewarding. Touch wood, if all's gone well in my exam result, I think I'm very happy with my choices. If once I'll be qualified, I'd be really, really happy with that and would recommend.
Well, fingers crossed. I'm sure you'll pass with flying colours, so thanks for that. And you also, when you were talking, mentioned about imposter syndrome, especially when you were applying. What do you do to overcome that? Do you have any things that you can share?
I think for me, and I think I touched on this before, so apologies if I'm a stuck record, but I personally take confidence in preparation. I find kind of if I know that I'm prepared and I know that I know my stuff, then I'm qualified to be in the room or the assessment centre or whatever it is. You know, if you've made it to whatever stage that you're at, reason, you know, don't assume, oh, I don't know how I've slipped through the net here. Like you've got the credentials, like good on you. Yeah, just keep going, keep your head down, have confidence. But yeah, why not you is what I would say.
Exactly. No, absolutely. And actually leads nicely into another question that's come in about, do clients notice your STEM skills when in the role, or is it more about your relationship building?
I would say it's a mix, because the reason that clients need us is to help them with things that are super technical. So I see that as kind of the STEM side. You know, we're the one crunching the numbers, reading the legislation, deciphering it, having an awareness of that so that they don't have to. So I definitely see that as the STEM side. And perhaps it'd be wrong to call this not the STEM side, because I think it still is, but the more interpersonal skills element. It's all good and well knowing your stuff, but if you can't communicate that effectively, then I think that is kind of a bit of a barrier. And certainly what everyone at my work, it's great to watch kind of more senior people in action. They really understand the technical detail, but they can also talk to clients in a way that it's completely accessible and they understand why something might be a risk, why it might be an issue, or why it might be an opportunity. So I would say it's a real mix. Like I remember doing presentations at uni, and I do feel like it draws a lot of parallels. That I had to do some presentation on some scary magnetic equipment. I'm thinking, how am I going to boil this down to 7 minutes or whatever? But I think that all stood me in good stead.
No, oh, brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. With about women in STEM roles, do you find that in your team, for instance, do you get, I mean, is there a lot of females working in those tech roles?
Absolutely, yeah. I will say on my first day of my physics degree, I very much noted the disparity in the gender balance, but at my work, absolutely not. I'd guess it was 50-50. I'd be shocked if anyone told me otherwise. No, it's I think the grad intake's about 50-50 split. And I certainly feel like I work with kind of probably a 50-50 split of men and women as well. So I don't feel like a minority. Not that that would ever be a reason to not get involved because you're the minority. But if that was something that kind of made you feel a bit more comfortable, yeah, loads of women.
Oh, no, and it's really, really excellent to hear. And yeah, happy that that's going on. And that just follows on. I mean, do you have any female role models that you look up to, or perhaps in PwC or outside, that you think, yeah, they really inspire?
Definitely, yeah. I would say I have a few, and I think it's great to have kind of people you can look up to at all grades. There's certainly like some really impressive partners at the firm, but also directors, senior managers, and managers, all grades above me. And I really enjoy working with women at different grades, different points of their lives. You can see how they're balancing their personal lives and their careers. And I just think it's great to see so many women in leadership roles just doing a great job. There are loads. Yeah, it's lovely to have the role models to look at, because I know kind of perhaps in a STEM background there's not as many to look up to, but I would say there's quality and quantity of great female role models, which is real plus. Yeah.
Oh no, yeah, absolutely, and yeah, hopefully, yeah, it continues, and females are going into these STEM roles. Yeah, oh, that's great. And then I guess we're coming towards the end now. So you talked a little bit about your kind of day in the life at PwC. What is your like favorite thing about working there? Did you say?
Oh, good question. I think one of the things I enjoy the most is, so we have clients that we do their annual compliance for, and that's like a very annual process, but we also help with ad hoc tax consulting. So if that's a service that we offer you, you can kind of come to us with a bit of a, not a random query, but a pop-up out of nowhere. And I really enjoy the challenge of what will that be? Like, what will that question be? And when it comes in, feeling now I've been there a couple of years, you know what? I have some groundwork. I don't need to immediately look to the manager or senior manager and say, what do I do with this? I know where to look, how to find the answer myself. pull something together as a draft to be reviewed, and kind of increasingly it's, yes, that's what we were thinking, or maybe change this bit, do that. But I think for me, what I enjoy the most is being able to find an answer for myself, because I've been equipped to do that, and really feeling like I'm improving and developing all the time. And that the next time the query comes in, I've got that bit more experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say the fact that I'm kept on my toes and you never know what's coming into your inbox is probably the answer for me.
Oh, yeah, all the exciting different challenges coming in and seeing how you can overcome them, definitely. Oh man, that was a great answer to finish off on. But I just want to say a huge thank you. It's been brilliant hearing about your journey at PwC. And I was going to say, if anyone does have any more questions for Sarah, please head over to the booth and you can ask them there. But up next, we have Akiki from Accenture, who will be coming to talk about their journey. And so please come and join us at 20 to 5, and we will be back then. But a huge thank you again, Sarah, and we'll
having me.
soon.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.